Well, good morning. I am Tony Morelan, part of the Samsung Developer Program. We're super excited about this live chat that we're going to have this morning. Should be a lot of fun. If you have any questions, you can ask them throughout the chat. We'll be answering those. So post your questions off on the side there. If you want to speak, I would love to hear you. So you can raise your hand. If you're familiar with the chat window off to the right there, you can raise your hand and I'll switch over to you. Getting a hold of us. I'm going to throw up some contact information here for you guys so that if you have to cut out of this chat this morning a little early, at least you know how to get a hold of us. So, okay. So the first thing you can do if you want to get a hold of us is go to our website, developer.samsung.com/support, and submit a support request. That's actually the best way to have your questions asked. That way we can kind of follow the ticket. Another way is to just send us an email. So you can send email to support@samsungdevelopers.com and we can contact you that way. Third way, if you've got questions about your application, your account with Samsung, selling anything with the seller portal, you want to submit what's called a one-to-one inquiry. I'll actually show you a little bit later on the website how to access that. But any questions that have to do with your account or publishing and selling, you'll need to submit to seller.samsungapps.com. And then finally, I am Tony Morelan. I'd love to chat. You can just send me an email, tony.morelan@partner.samsung.com. I often help designers, critique their work, give them some tips. So feel free to reach out through me through email. You can also reach out to me. You can see down there, put a hashtag for #AxeHereBuzz. That is actually my handle that I use separately outside of Samsung as a designer. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself before we actually get into the design side of things. So you guys should be able to see my website here, axehere.com. Prior to working for Samsung, I was a graphic designer for over 20 years doing freelance graphic design. And one of the things that I did a couple of years ago was to start designing watch faces and selling them on the Samsung platform. So you can see here some of my designs that I've done. What was kind of nice was I got to be known by the folks over at Samsung. They started inviting me over to meetings to help improve their software. And once I started realizing that I was teaching a lot of the folks at Samsung how to use their software, I thought, you know what, maybe I could actually go and do this for Samsung, teaching people out in the ecosystem how to create for Samsung. And they said, yes, join us. So for a couple of years now, I've been a senior developer evangelist, speaking at conferences, teaching at schools, writing a lot of blogs and creating videos online. So super excited to help those designers and share some tips I have when it comes to design. So I'm going to show you next our developer website. I'm kind of going through some of these things first, just before we get into the design thing. Our website is new. We launched this a little while back, and you want to go over to the design tab here. And under here, today we're going to be talking, I saw that for the most part, we've got a lot of people enthusiastic about Galaxy Watch designing. And then I'll touch a little bit also on Galaxy themes. So over here under the design tab, you can select Galaxy Watch to get a little more information on Galaxy Watch Designer, and as well as over to Galaxy themes. So with that out of the way, I'd like to start offering up some design tips. Start your design with sketching. Don't dive right into your computer. Often people are limited with the tools within the software and they try and design within those tools. You are much better off grabbing your pencil, grabbing some paper. I love using this grid paper because it's really easy to align things with it. So what I like to do is, one is start my sketch big. Okay, that way I can work with something. And you know what? A really easy template to use is just grab an old CD. And it's a perfect size for creating a nice big screen. But that being said, you want to create also sketch at actual size. So what I have is this nice little circle template. And you can see here, this big circle here pretty much matches, you can see, the size of an actual Galaxy Watch. So it's important that you design at the actual size as well, just even in the sketch phase, because often people have a tough time with small text, in the watch face. As people get older, they start to wear glasses, and it gets a little hard to read those watch faces. So, often I only wear my glasses when I'm actually designing on the computer. When I'm actually out and about, when I got my watch on, I like to be able to read that text. So it's important that you design also at actual size. So when I'm done with my design, I'll snap a picture of that sketch and I'll actually bring it into Adobe Illustrator. I like to start with Adobe Illustrator because I get to work with the vectored line work. So this design is called Aviate. It's one of my top selling watch faces. I actually just checked on the store yesterday, 46,000 times that watch face has been downloaded. It's pretty cool. So this artwork here, this is all my vector line work for this watch face. Did this all in Illustrator. It's easy because you can get in with the tools and start tweaking all the line work and whatnot. But the reason that I like using Illustrator for just doing the vector work is I will take this artwork and then bring it into Photoshop, where I'll add all of the color and the effects to it. I don't use Illustrator to do any of my color work or my effect work. I do that all in Photoshop. I just find the effect tools a little easier to work with. So the key thing, though, is I bring them in as what are called smart objects. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to copy just one of these elements here, and then I'm going to now switch over to Photoshop. Here we've got that same artwork, that design, but now brought into Photoshop. And you can see this window here. This is that digital window area that I was talking about. So if I were to bring in another one of that, remember I copied it from my Illustrator file. I'm now just going to go paste. And down here, it says an option for Smart Object. Okay, so if I were to select Smart Object and hit OK, it'll bring in a new object here, which is my frame for my digital window. I actually already have that digital window placed in here, so I'm just going to delete that layer there. It is right here. Okay, so I'll turn it off and turn it on. By bringing it in as a smart object, I can actually go back and change the shapes of the artwork a little easier than if it was just native in Photoshop. So what I do is, if you notice, there's a little icon right down here for digital window. I'm going to double click that, and that'll open up just that shape. So let's say that I wanted to make that shape not have the rounded corners. I could come in here, retweak that, okay? And then when I go save, I save that smart object. I'm not sure if actually you guys are seeing myself working within Illustrator. I realize now in the zoom window, maybe it didn't jump that over. The vector object opened up within Illustrator. Now I'm going to jump back to Photoshop, and you can see my rounded corners are no longer rounded. They have that nice sharp edge to them. So that's one of the ways that it's nice to work within the two programs, with Illustrator and with Photoshop. You can see here in this design, I've got a lot of layers now with a lot of different effects. Everything is done individually so that I can make any tweaks to the layout as I want to work with the design. One thing that I like to do is I work at twice the size that the graphics are required for in Galaxy Watch Designer. So what that means is that the size of the screen of your watch is 360 pixels. So Galaxy Watch Designer, the workspace is 360 pixels round. I actually do this Illustrator artwork, this Photoshop artwork at twice the size. So it's 720 pixels. What that allows me to do, a couple of things. One is when I bring in the artwork from Photoshop into Galaxy Watch Designer, I save it as a transparent PNG file, all individual elements. So I'm going to show you here one of the watch hands. So this watch hand is twice the size that it's required in the Galaxy Watch Designer. What that does is when I bring it into Galaxy Watch Designer, I'll reduce it by 50%. And that will actually tighten up all of the line work and make it look a little more crisp. Another trick that I do when it comes to things like this watch hand here, I will actually not crop it At its size, I will extend that canvas to be 720 pixels tall, okay? What that allows me to do is I'll place in this watch hand just direct center on the workspace area of the watch. And the pivot point is the exact center of this workspace. It makes it a lot easier to work with this element within Galaxy Watch Designer. I'll show you that when we jump over to Galaxy Watch Designer in just a second. Now, if we go back to this design here, I'm going to show you some watch hands. So we've got our seconds hands, our minute hand, and our hour hand. If you notice, there's a bit of a drop shadow there. If I were to have this drop shadow be a part of this watch hand and I bring it into Galaxy Watch Designer, let's just take a look and see how there's more shadow below this minute hand here. If I were just to have that shadow be a part of this graphic, as that watch hand would rotate around, the shadow would not be realistic. Let's pretend that the sun is shining from above, from the top of the watch face. The shadow would continue to be on the left side of that watch hand. So that's not realistic. Really, we want that shadow to always be excuse me, towards the bottom of the watch hand. So the way that you do that is you actually create, so here's my one watch hand. I create a second watch hand that is strictly the shadow. And what that allows me to do is offset the shadow in Galaxy Watch Designer. So I'll show you that in just a second. So another thing, if you notice that this file here, this is a transparent PNG file. So I don't have a background. That allows me to have the background in Galaxy Watch Designer not appear. So it's important that when you're saving your files from Photoshop, save them as transparent PNG files. Okay, so now let's switch over to Galaxy Watch Designer. Okay, so here we are. We're in Galaxy Watch Designer. This is my watch face called AV8. And if you're not familiar with the workspace, I'll just give you a quick little overview of it. This is the area that I'll be working in, where I build the actual watch face. To the right is where I see the actual preview. So I can hit the play button here. You can see my hands are ticking. I can control the what's being shown in this preview by moving some of these values. So here I'm just fast forwarding the time. You can see my time is changing even in my digital clock. I can adjust my dates. And I'll show you, give you some tricks on how this sort of stuff is done. But notice on my watch hand shadow, it is staying below. It might be a little tough to see. Let me zoom in over here. Okay. So here we have a shadow below, but as that minute hand is going to rotate around, oops, the shadow you can see is still below the watch hand. So that is done by bringing in the two different watch hands. So let me show you that real quickly here. So I'm going to go to watch hand, import image in my Photoshop file here. Okay, so these are all my different watch hands. So I'll bring in an hour hand. And notice it's at twice the size. So I am going to first reduce the size down by 50%. So I go over here into my dimensions. I'm going to click that so that it stays proportionate. And then up here, I've got this tool for centering to the desktop. So I will hit center that, and you can see it's placed it right in the center. Let me go ahead and remove the other watch hands so that we can clearly see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all of the watch hands, except for the one that I brought in. Okay, so there's our hour hand, and I'll bring in a second watch hand, and this one is going to be just the shadow. Okay, so there's my shadow. It's at twice the size, so I'm going to hit the lock button on the dimensions in our properties window. I will cut that in half, And again, all that's doing is it's making the quality better. If I were to bring in at actual size, if you looked in close, any sort of like edge artwork is going to be it's finer detail if I do it this way. Now, I would not want to do every single image at twice the size, and especially when it comes to a background. Something in the background, it's not really necessary to have all of that detail. And if you start placing in lots of larger graphics that you're reducing down, your file size will get too big on your final Galaxy Watch Designer app. And I've actually run into situations where it's just got too big and it just doesn't function nicely. So just really use that technique when you're trying to do fine detailed artwork. Okay, so let me now center that. I'm going to move it back down one layer so that the shadow appears below. Okay, so right now the shadow and the watch hand are exactly positioned on top of each other. I want to offset that shadow just a bit. So I'm going to move it down the vertical axis there by 5 pixels. Okay, so now when the watch hand rotates, that shadow, because it's offset, you can see, I'll get it to the yellow here. So you can clearly see that it's below there. And when I come over to here, it's still below. So that is acting more as a true shadow. If I wanted this to be a little more realistic, I would take the opacity down a bit from that. Now it's starting to look like a shadow. So that's a little trick on creating more realistic shadows. I'm going to jump over to our chat window here and see what sort of questions we have. So looking over at our Q&A, so I see Mark's got a question about themes. So I'll talk about themes in just a minute when we get to that. Are there any other questions? So Carl is asking, what do the customers actually buy? So Carl, I think what you're referring to are the apps on the Galaxy Store. So for people who own a Galaxy Watch, they can go onto our Galaxy Store and purchase the different watch faces. There are watch faces that are free. So if you actually were to go and search up my brand name, Xeer, all of my watch faces are free now that I work for Samsung. But there is a huge market for people selling their watch faces on the Galaxy Store. So that is what the customers actually buy, is the watch face app. Hope that answers that question. So one thing that I wanted to share with you, going back to when I'm creating a design, I'm always looking for inspiration. So, one thing you can do is you can go onto the Galaxy Store and see what other designers are creating. But something that I really want to stress is not to copy other people's artwork, and not just what you see on the store, but even what is actually out, being sold in the industry for watch faces. You would not want to go grab a name brand watch face and duplicate that artwork. There are legal reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. So I need to stress strongly that the artwork that you create for your watch face really should be custom to what you're creating. So one thing that I love to do is to get inspired by different things that I see. So I'm going to share with you some of my inspiration that I've come across. Give me just a moment here. So often what I'll do is just go snap pictures. I like to see different objects that I think I could turn into a watch face. So you can see here, I've taken a picture of a drain that that I just found in the street. I went to an antique store and started snapping pictures of different circled objects. So we've got some, I'm not sure what this is, but this really interesting old piece of iron motor gear thing. I've got this box here with a nice gauge in it. And then wheels. Honestly, wheels are a great inspiration for watch faces. In fact, there was this time that I was sitting at a stoplight and a guy in a Ferrari pulled up next to me, and I looked at his wheel, here's a screenshot of that actual rim that I saw. And I sat there staring at it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I could turn that into a watch face. So I did just that. Let me switch over to Galaxy Watch Designer, and I'm going to show you this design that I created based off of that Ferrari wheel. So you can see, if you remember what that Ferrari wheel looked like, I kind of took the, a bit of the shape of somewhat of the rim. You've got this texture in the background. And I started looking at those different areas, and I thought those would actually make really cool, like, data windows. So if you were to tap in here, you can start to customize the look of the watch face. So here we've got a bit of the date showing. So Tuesday, April 14th. If I wanted to see my battery level, I could tap there. If I wanted to really customize the look of this watch face, I could actually tap and turn off the numbers to get a really sleek design. And another thing that you can do is double tap. And now I've got this digital window showing. Let me just adjust the time so you can see it. This digital window showing, and then continue to double tap, and you can select from different rim types. So this technique is something called tap reveal. And I actually have made a video, as well as I wrote a blog story. If you go to our website, the developer.samsung.com, you can just search up in the window for Morelan, my last name. You'll see all of the stories that I wrote. You can go to our blog and search for tap reveal, and you can see the article on that. There's a YouTube video that I show how to do this. I'll tell you the secret, though. It's really simple. Think of it this way. The Galaxy Watch Designer allows you to swap an image out by tapping. So you can either tap once or you can tap twice. And you don't have to have that image swap out with another graphic. You can actually take a transparent PNG file that doesn't have anything. So, sit and make a Photoshop file that is just 10 pixels by 10 pixels or 5 pixels by 5 pixels. It doesn't matter the size, because Galaxy Watch Designer will resize that transparent file to fit the window of the original graphic. So in this case here, so I have a one file that is just the number 12. And when you tap it, it swaps out to nothing, which then shows what's below. And that is true for all of these. And what I did for the rim color is that is a double tap. So let me go back to the silver one just to start from. Kind of clean up my design a little bit here. So this is one graphic that is completely filling the background. All the pixels are being filled. When you double tap it, it swaps out with an identical rim that has a cutout of this shape here. So I double tap it. So now this graphic is a PNG file, but it is transparent below. So this digital readout area here is actually one of the layers that is just sitting down at the back here. So if I start to, you can see I can turn off this layer here. So all this rim is a cover with a window cut out of it. And that window area is what's being exposed. And every time I double tap, it swaps out with a graphic that is filling the entire area, or double tapping, and it's now exposing that window. So again, that technique is called tap reveal, and it's just swapping out transparent ping with the actual graphic. So I see a question here about themes. This one here says, "Hi, sir. Thank you for the webinar. I've submitted my theme 7 times, and it's been rejected each time. Really, I couldn't understand the exact reason. I've submitted all the required files, but it's not approved. Requested via email for the exact reason, but did not get a proper response, sir. Kindly help me to know the reason." Okay. So this is this question comes up quite a bit. In fact, I recently did a webinar video on how to become a themes designer. So just so you know, for people who are not familiar with it, you actually submit a mock-up design of a theme, and you can only submit it during a certain time of year, which is called the themes window. It's about every other month. The theme window actually opened up today, and it'll be open for 2 weeks. This is when Samsung allows you to submit your application. You can go to our website and go to the design tab and then down to Galaxy Themes. And from there, you can get more information on that process. But to answer his question, he doesn't understand if he's met all the requirements, why is it that he continues to be rejected? So a couple reasons. There's a team in Korea that reviews all of the themes that are done outside of Canada and outside of the US. And then there's a team that I actually belong to that reviews the applications that are in the US and in Canada. So you have to keep that in mind a bit, because truthfully, those are two different cultures. The folks in the US that are looking at themes, there's, certain things that we like. And the team in Korea, there's certain things that they like. The Galaxy Store is full of a lot of themes. So across the board, what we're looking for new theme designers is something unique. So you might be able to create a design that looks awesome, but if there's already a lot of other designs out there that are similar, then, truthfully, Samsung, we don't need more of those designs. So we want to see something new and unique. I'm going to share with you, give me just a second here, some examples of what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we go. So I grabbed these screenshots from the Galaxy Store. So these are themes that are currently available. This is a great looking theme. It's what I call abstract. And that's what I'm finding is that the team in Korea, they are not really approving designers that are creating abstract themes. So if you look at this theme here, and if you look at this theme here, these are wonderful themes. And truthfully, these are the types of themes that I would probably download, but we have got enough designers creating abstract themes. What we want are designers that are creating unique illustrations. So take a look at this theme here. Far more of a custom design. It actually has a concept to it. So unlike something like this, which is just really nice, unique looking shapes, this actually is a concept. This is, white flowers and bubbles. So this is something very unique. Let me click over to another one here. You can see this one here. It's a beautiful theme. It actually has a concept to it. It's what I call an illustration. So what the team in Korea seems to be looking for are designers that are creating unique custom illustration themes. So there are a lot of fun themes. You can see here, this is a pretty amazing design. So if you have the ability, if you have the talent to create this type of custom illustration, this is what the team outside of the US market and Canadian market are looking for. And truthfully, we're aligning ourselves with that as well. We would love to see these types of unique themes posted on the Galaxy Store. So to answer the question, why is it that he was rejected? Most likely, he's probably creating some really great themes, but they fall into this abstract category. So, one thing that I often encourage graphic designers is to partner with an illustrator. Form a partnership and work together. I mean, there's a lot of amazing graphic designers out there that just don't have these illustrated skills. So if you can partner with someone, that's a great way to get your skills together and create some amazing designs. So I hope that answers the question about submitting for themes. Let me see if there are any other questions here. So another question is, this is from Carl. Do they load the face on the watch themselves? Yes. So you do that through the Galaxy Store. Let me back up just a little bit. So as a designer, you don't actually have to own a Galaxy Watch to start creating watch faces and selling watch faces. It's very handy to have one. I often use it for testing. I'll put the design on my watch and then I'll put it on my wrist. I'll take it outside and see, can I, easily read my design, out in the sun. I'll, in the car, I'll do a quick glance at it. I mean, remember, this is a watch. You want to be able to quickly tell the time. Often I'll see a lot of designs that have really small, digits that you have to sit there and stare at the watch for a long time to see what the time is. And that's not, good usability. So having a watch is great for testing, but it is not required. The individuals, though, that own the watch, they go to the Galaxy store and they either purchase or they download a free watch face and it installs on their watch. It does have to be synced with a phone. So to explain a little bit about that, it is compatible with both Mac and PC. So I'm sorry, with Mac iOS iPhones and Android phones. The difference, though, is that only free watch faces are available through Mac iOS. So if you want to purchase a watch face, you do have to have your watch synced with an Android phone. This is from Rock's Watch Design. Adding to the question above, I have seen many themes are very simple than what I submitted. That's what I can't understand. And that is true. There are a lot of simple designs out there. And really what it is that the Galaxy Store is full of a lot of those simple designs. So we have enough. We now want custom, more unique looking designs. So that's the reason for your frustration. Anoop wrote, can I show examples of selected theme portfolio? So I cannot share with you portfolios that have been approved, but the person has not yet created a theme. So the way it works is you create, let me actually jump over to the to our website here. So give me just a moment. So here we are. This is our developer.samsung.com website. You can go to the design tab and go down to Galaxy Themes. And from here, we actually just launched this new revised page today. So here's the video that I was talking about. This is where I go into more detail about what is required for submitting your application. If I go onto the Get Started page, you can see here the window is open. So it just opened up today for 2 weeks. If you were to go to this website and view this page after that 2-week period, it'll actually say down here that the open window status is closed, and you'll have to then wait again. You can see we list out the dates throughout the year. So here's a nice quick overview on becoming a themes designer. Here are the steps that you're going to do. You're going to submit a portfolio, and right here, this is the key thing, the theme submission starter kit. This is a Photoshop file that I built. So the way it works is we actually don't give you access to the tool Theme Studio until you have shown that you can design themes. But what it is that you're going to use Photoshop to create your theme. So don't worry about what Theme Studio can or can't do. We just want to see your ability as an artist. So the submission starter kit has 6 different screens that you're going to design: the home screen, lock screen, and several of the other screens like, the phone dialer and chat and settings, things like that. You need to go and design all of the 6 screens, as well as customize all of the app icons that you see. You're doing this all in Photoshop, so no need to worry about Theme Studio. That is what we call your themes portfolio. So you submit those screenshots of your different screens with your application. Now, you're only required to submit one theme. I will tell you, your odds of getting approved are far better if you can submit more than one theme. So if you can, submit 2 themes, submit 3 themes. That'll only help your chances better. Give us a cover letter. Tell us why you want to become a themes designer. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come into to design? What other sort of projects have you worked on? We want to get a good picture of you as a designer to see how well you can create themes for Samsung. If you become approved, at that time, we actually give you the ability to use the software to create your themes. So going back to the question, can I show some selected theme portfolios? I can't do that because all those themes were created in Photoshop. Those are all the individually are owned by those individual applicants. Once they produce their themes, then I can share those with you. And that's what I did earlier when I kind of cycled through some of those abstract themes as well as those highly illustrated themes. When it comes to themes, the one tip I want to give is for those of you that have already created themes that have become themes designers. When you create your theme, you submit it, it still has to go through a review and get approved. It gets tested. So often your theme will get rejected because of colors. So if you were to create a certain button in your theme, let me actually jump over to, I'm going to open up Theme Studio. So this is Theme Studio. Theme Studio used to be offered as a desktop software. Recently, they have switched that over to being an online tool. So starting, I think, at the beginning of April, they now are only supporting the online version of the tool. So if you were to build a theme using the desktop version, you can still create your theme and submit your theme. But if you have any issues with it, Samsung will not be able to assist you. They will only assist you if you're using the online tool. So now is the time to actually start creating your themes using the online tool. So let me create a new theme package here. I'm just gonna, we'll just call this the chat theme. So what I want to quickly give a tip on is when you're creating your theme, I've seen times where my theme would get rejected for reasons out of my control, somewhat. You can see here in this window here, I can change the background color of these three buttons here. So I'm going to come down to this swatch here, and let's just make this green. So you can see on the right, I'm getting my preview, that I have changed these three icon symbols from this blue to the green, okay? Changing it here also may impact, I say may impact the way other icons look on other screens that you don't have control over. And if you were to, let's say, I had a light background and I picked somewhat of a lighter color icon, my theme could get rejected because they could say, on this one screen, your icons are too light and they cannot be read. And you'll get confused because you can only control certain screens here, but truthfully, there are other screens that you cannot edit within Theme Studio that appear on your phone. So when you're adjusting a color here, it may impact an icon somewhere else. So it's very key to be able to test your theme on a phone. And what I often tell people to do is do a quick theme where you're not really worried about the design, but make all of the colored icons just something unique. Just go through the theme and select different icons and change them to different colors. Take note of what you're doing so that you know that, look at when I changed that blue here to this video, if this blue showed up anywhere else in my theme, I would know that it's controlled by changing the video call button color. That's a real helpful way to go and sort of investigate where changing color of one icon or symbol or something on your theme impacts another area of your theme that you thought you didn't have control over. So that's a great little tip for that. So Anoop wrote a question. I had already worked as a theme designer for Samsung. Now, for some reason, my account is closed. I want to apply again. Can I submit my Samsung theme store work screenshot in your portfolio? So the first thing I would suggest, Anoop, is to reach out to the one-to-one inquiry. If you have difficulty reaching out, doing a one-to-one inquiry through the Seller App Store, just send me an email directly, and I'll help you out with that. I don't think that you can resubmit just your screenshot of your portfolio. your store portfolio, because it'll not meet the requirements of submitting the 6 different screens, and it won't even get to the next step of the review. So you do need to submit, those 6 required screens. Okay, so we've got about 9 minutes left. I want to share some tools with you guys that I created, something really fun. So I've created some smart photos to help with your seller store when you're selling your different apps. So let me switch over here. Actually, first I'm going to show you on our website where to find these smart photos. So if I were to go to the design tab into Galaxy Watch, I've got these cool lifestyle photos. So when you're selling your watch, your App Store page not only shows what the watch face looks like, but it shows all the different screenshot photos of your watch in action. So I call these lifestyle photos. And what I did is I created a Photoshop file that allows you to quickly take your design and place it perfectly onto one of my existing photos. So let me switch back over to Photoshop. So this was a photo. It's actually this watch here, taken with my Samsung Note 9. And what I did is I turned this into a smart object picture. So I've got a watch face on top. Okay. This is a smart object. So I'm going to double click that to open it up. Now I'm going to go and grab another design of mine. So this was one of my designs. I'm just going to select the canvas area. I'm going to copy it to the memory of the computer, just doing the key command copy. And then when I go into the smart object that I opened, I'm just going to go paste. I held down the shift button at the wrong time. So let me reposition this so that it fits the screen nicely. There we go. Okay. So now I am going to just save that file, and look at here. It placed it perfectly in position. It even did the blur for that nice depth of field look that you get. So this is a great way that you can go onto the website and download, we call them lifestyle packs. I've created about 20 different pictures of a lot of our different watches for you to go and use these pictures on your own. They don't cost anything. They're completely free for you to use. And you can place your design into all of these pictures that quickly without doing all of those different techniques within Photoshop to get that watch face to fit in nicely. And you can see I even added in a little light streak that goes on top of it. And I've got, if you're familiar with adjustment layers, I've got an adjustment layer here to help with the colorization so that it nicely matches in with the lifestyle photo. Along with that, on that same page, you can see, let me go back to the website, and I have the same down here for Galaxy Store Asset Creator. So let me jump over to that. So these, again, it's another tool that I created for you to make it a little easier for utilizing Photoshop tools. So this is the Store Asset Creator. Here are all the different screens that are required when you upload your app. So you've created your watch face, and now you want to sell it. This is what the store page looks like. And here are all the different screenshots that people will cycle through. They'll slide through looking at your different designs. So I wanted to make it easy to create these images. You can see there's a lot of different sizings, different croppings. So within this file here, if I just were to select one of these watch faces, okay, I'm going to double click it and open up that smart object. Now let me click over to another one of my designs. This one's called Hang On. These little guys just hang on to the watch hands. Okay, so if I go back to that smart object and I paste my design and I save, you can see it'll automatically populate on all of the watches that are shown throughout this entire template. And what's really nice is I'm giving lots of different watches to choose from. So if you want to go with a different watch band, you can see you've got all of the different layers And that's true for each of these. So I could change out all the different watches and quickly update with my watch face design. And what's unique also is this Photoshop file automatically exports all of these files as JPEGs for the screenshots and for the icon, the PNG. So you can learn more about that. I wrote a blog on using the Galaxy Store Asset Creator as well as a video. So please check that out on the developer site. So I'm going to bring back the slide that has the contact so that you can find an easy way to get a hold of us. Again, as I mentioned, please, 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 if you have any questions at all, you can reach out directly to me, tony.morelan@partner.samsung.com. So take a screenshot of that page right there. And then another way, if you want to just get a hold of us, and I'm sorry, if you want to just follow us, you can check us out, connect with us through all the different channels here, as well as Meetup. So, with this new way of life that we're all going online right now, just go to Meetup and search Samsung developers, and you can find us there. We'll be doing more sessions like this. And as far as these live chats, I know that we're going to be doing a lot more of this. We're hoping to get into a nice routine, maybe possibly doing these weekly. So we would love to see you join with those live chats in the future. I'll definitely be diving into some more design tools. So if there are any questions that are in the chat that I didn't get to answer, I'll go back through and look at all of the different questions here and reach out to you individually, see if I can help you out. So again, thank you very much. Hope you gained a little bit of knowledge with this. Please, please, please reach out to me. I would love to help you as you design for Samsung. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.